Live. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the part 3 of Opal and Nev, or really the final revival of Opal and Nev, part 3 of the discussion. I am Dr. Nicole Carter, and
I am Morgan. We are both members of the Syllabi cohort.
yes, so we were with you last week discussing part 2, and we will be completing the last part of our discussion today. And also make sure that you grab your syllabus, read the book, read through the syllabus, because there will be an author chat as well. I believe it's on November 4th. Let me see. I'm getting this info right now. And so that chat will be.
I also think the syllabus is on sale right now. So it's a good time to get it if you haven't already.
Yes. So it's November 3rd at 7. And so there will be a chat with Donnie Walton. I'm sure you'll get information to submit questions, and actually there's a link in that post in the event page to submit your questions about the book to the author so that it can be a lively chat. And yes, get the syllabus. There are times where different syllabi go on sale on Smart Brown Girl. So this is coffee, by the way, everybody.
Iced coffee. Girl, what's in the red cup?
Iced coffee. Okay, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. Just put up my syllabus. Okay. So part 3. Let's see.
Want me to read the question, or you?
Yeah, you can take off with the first one. I'm still scrolling.
Okay, so part 3 asks us to kind of reflect on the review that Opal receives for not only her album that comes out, but also the movie that she is part of or featured in. So it says a review of Stew, Opal's self-produced third solo rant, quotes, solo rant, is I'm trying to emphasize for a reason, reads that time has continued to dull her palate. Instead of serving up ritually layered conceptual treats, she oversalted the finished product with preachy lyrics and the tired feminist shtick that wore out 2 albums ago. The album review is followed by a movie review sharing similar sentiments of disapproval. So the first question in this section asks us to consider, how does the album and movie reviews speak to the larger issues facing Black women in the entertainment industry?
Yeah. So they really kind of lay it on Opal. She's kind of it reminded me. I watched a video earlier today that was talking about Beyonce's progress in the industry and how in between, I think when she came out with the album 4, it was kind of like basically apparently, which I didn't feel this way, but apparently a lot of people felt the way about her album that this reviewer felt about Opal's album, that it was just kind of redundant. It was old, tired, and she needed to really focus on reinventing herself. And I think it was just a reminder that Black women in entertainment are held to very unrealistic and unfair standards. We can just look at the way that even women in the rap industry are supposed to consistently reinvent themselves to stay relevant, but Future, Drake can put out the same album with a different cover every year and be applauded and win the awards and get the accolades. But Black women across every genre are really expected to, I guess, adhere to these unrealistic standards. Like I can't even say that, if we asked one of these reviewers what it is they want to see, that they would be able to spell it out, because it's really just about finding ways to invalidate these artists.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And it reminded me of like not just like musical artists, but also writers who come out and they have this like backlash. And anytime I think not just even that, like athletes, when they come out and they have like this political voice or a stance on something, they're told to
Mhm.
like just be an athlete.
Yeah.
Nobody asked you to. And so I think we see this happening. She gets this like really bad backlash because people don't respect her as like this political voice. And
Yeah.
they're so basically they just want you to be one way.
Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna try to overlay the chat so that other people can see it
Okay.
if it comes up.
They also don't want to separate her from her previous duo. She was
Yeah,
she was acceptable, and it was easier to digest some of her opinions and her thoughts on things when she kind of had this white man next to her. But now that she's, releasing solo rants and going into her own lane and becoming more unapologetic in the way that she shares her opinions, it's becoming harder for people to really accept what it is she's saying and who she is.
yeah, yeah. And I think so. There was a comment on Facebook that said they are also expected to remain ageless. So like it's just anything that you're doing. Um, if it's not, I feel like Ned in this situation served as a buffer. So
Mm-hmm.
like, like because Nev was there, like Oprah was okay. And
Right.
so like things she said
Right.
and did were okay because
Mm-hmm.
Nev kind of created like it calmed her down, if you will, like the image down. And now she's doing things on her own and she's being dragged basically in the media.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Next question
Oh,
is
sorry.
how, how
uh,
has
go
you
ahead.
gonna read it? Okay.
Go ahead.
How has Opal's iconography evolved since the group's dissolution? How is this different from Nev's experience? I think, really, it's kind of like people are kind of done with Opal. I would say she probably has her core group of fans, but like, this white man, he's gonna be fine. We love white men in rock, so he's gonna always have an income, have the status, be an icon. But Opal was already an artist within a space that a lot of Black people were not allowed to really dominate and be fully present in. And so, now that they are releasing music as a duo, it's not looking too hot for her.
Yeah. And I mean, in terms of the iconography, so like over time, obviously it was different because she was in a two-person band.
Mm-hmm.
Um, she had this like British person that was like, you know, um, and really a British white man, privileged white man at that,
Mm-hmm.
who like again to go back served as a buffer. And so it was welcomed. It was seen as different then. And I feel like at the moment that this is like being reflected, people weren't looking for different anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
essentially she wasn't different because it was like they didn't want to hear what she had to say, like you said, like anymore. Like they're done with her. So and she wasn't done though.
Right.
And it reminded me of even though Lil Nas X was new, right? Like and came out. It reminded me of like the backlash that he received coming
Yeah.
out as a
Yeah.
black artist, as a black country artist,
Mm-hmm.
and how this white guy had to come and like to in order for him to be seen as like
Seriously, I respect
yeah
it.
to be seen as a valid artist.
And so there's also a part where Sunny asks Opal about like what her thoughts on this music, and she kind of declines the opportunity to give her opinion, and it's because white mediocrity is gonna make whiteness relevant, and that part made me laugh because it's like she was trying to keep it together. What did she say? She was like, "He's doing good." Like she had already said it once. Like of course I learned from him. I would be a fool to not have taken notes from him.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah,
And then she's like, "What do you think of his music? Yeah, I hope he's doing good. I hope he's fine."
yeah. Like, well, actually, she didn't even answer it straight away. Does she like the music he's making though? He's doing very well. Like, that's not even an answer to the
No,
actual question.
no. Mm-mm.
So, yeah. And like, I mean, that goes back to what you're saying, like, to have the what is it? To have the I'm blanking on the word, but I would always say like audacity of a mediocre white man.
Yes.
Like to have the confidence of a
That's
mediocre
the
white man. And that confidence is bred like from me like audiences that like, oh my God, it's Nev. Like that's what I'm like imagining.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
um and then comment said Opal gives Grace Jones vibes. I see that as well.
That's what I
I
do.
see that, and I see Tina Turner, and I think I mentioned last discussion. I saw it as Josephine Baker, like a
Yeah.
combination of all of these people, um, but particularly like also very much not really accepted in the Black community either.
Yeah.
Like they're seen as like weird in the Black community.
I'm the alternative black girls. That's what
Yeah.
it's
So
called. Yeah.
yeah. Um, so the next question related to this is, why do you believe that Nev was able to find more success later in his career than Opal? And I think we started talking about that, about the
Mhm.
mediocrity and the acceptance of mediocrity, and the lack of, to me, the lack of a political message
Mhm.
was safe. It's not taboo or anything like that. So
That's exactly it. I mean, white men have a even when they I don't know, I'm trying to think. Only white like male artists I know are like older rock artists. I can't think of any like Justin Bieber, but any white male artists, it's like just their presence has always been enough. Like they don't have to really put in overtime. They don't have to release quality content. Like they're going to be fine within the industry just because of who they are and what they represent.
yeah, yeah. So the mediocrity is enough.
Yeah.
And really, Opal is like more than enough. Like Opal is like in many ways, like so she's very extravagant, and
Mm-hmm.
people are like, calm that down.
Yeah.
And um and like she's extravagant in that way, but then also her later music is very political, and so like basically she's hyper visible and people are trying to mute that presence, and unfortunately the way that that is done currently is by really like pointing out their flaws, by minimizing their existence, by denigrating them, and using media to do that.
Yeah.
You can say a
That's
lot of things using words online. But you won't say it to her face.
Right. That's another point in the review, because they called her lyrics preachy lyrics and the tired feminist shtick. It's just like, okay. But that whenever an artist, I feel even an artist who isn't political, it's like one what's his name? Lil Baby. When he came out with his his Black Lives Matter song, I remember people being like, whoa, that's too much. Like, and I don't think that's generally the type of music he makes. So it's also it's telling that, saying anything is really saying too much to a crowd of folks that's not trying to hear it.
Yeah. Like we just wanna be thugs in the club. Can you please not don't politicize any of this? And like, so it's interesting because thinking about Lil Baby and that song, like some of my students wrote about it because the class I teach right now is on race and ethnicity, and they had to find something in the media that spoke to like police brutality or something like that, and that song is about that. But that song also like gave a little bit too much credit to police officers.
I was about to say, like, half the political songs don't even be doing too much. If anything, like, yeah,
like, it was something like they're tired too, or something. I don't know. It was something.
Yeah, it was very all lives matter.
Yeah, so it's like you could say even the smallest thing, and it's like we're not accepting what you have to say at this moment. So, another comment in the chat was, "Oh, my presence is a gift." So I think if we're referring to the white male mediocrity, that is like the idea. Like just me being here is more than enough.
Yeah.
But when it comes to actual talent, I guess that doesn't matter. Okay, so the next section, it says footnotes from the final section of the novel reveal that Opal directed her social media manager to post.
You skipped the question.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, yeah. So after Black fans were brutally abused during Opal and Nev's reunion, Opal regretted the performance, stating, "It became obvious to me tonight that trying to do this was a mistake because my former partner doesn't feel, maybe has never felt the same way I do." What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, how does Nev's refusal to end the show once a young Black woman was forcibly removed from the festival speak to his white liberalism and racial fetishization of Opal? When that incident occurred, and I believe it was a Black woman. For Opal, it would make sense to, shut the performance down, or at the very least, like, say something on the microphone, because this is another Black woman. But for this Black man who, started the book reading, what was he reading? The New Jim Crow. It's very, his relation to race and allyship is very performative. And I think that this incident specifically just shows that Opal is his token. And because of Opal's position and because of her privilege, I guess you could say in some ways, or her status, being in a group with him, being a successful singer, it separates her from all the other Black people that he knows, sees, comes across, whatever the case may be. And I think it just shed light on the fact that he does not actually view Opal as a Black woman. She is just kind of this trophy, I guess you could say. She doesn't have really any personality. She's not a person in his eyes, and he doesn't actually have any concern or care for the lives of Black people, because if he did, it would have made sense to respond, shut the show down, call somebody out or something when this girl was getting manhandled at this performance.
Yeah. And I think there was a time where she like saw him, like saw a image of him like looking at
Mm-hmm.
it,
Yeah.
and he just kind of closed his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I know she connected that back to Jimmy, like the
Yeah.
experience previously. And um and so for her, it was like there's no way I'm moving forward with this show. For
Yeah,
him,
because he didn't learn
it
anything.
it was like, here we go again, probably.
Mm-hmm. Same
For
shit,
him,
different
it
day.
was also like, this is about money, and I'm not losing money over
Yeah.
this.
Yeah.
So he was like deeply like disconnected emotionally and really, yeah, emotionally, period. So he only cared so much as he cared about Opal. So since he no longer cared about Opal, then none of the other things mattered either.
And even when he cared about Opal, it was real sketchy. And it didn't really, he wasn't showing up the way, you need to show up when you care about
Yeah.
somebody for real.
Yeah. One of the comments says it struck me that Nev was enamored with her in the beginning, tried to appear woke yet could not see her humanity. Yeah, I mean, it's as what what you just said, performative. It's a performance. And really, if it weren't for Nev, like Nev assisted them, like assisted in his success. So
Mhm.
without her existence, that success would not be. And now for him, I think he just sees her as like a problem. Like
Mhm.
I don't need that problem anymore because I already have a name out there. So I don't need you anymore. And I don't
She
need the things that are associated with you either. So
she was too much. He wanted her to be a very specific type of Black person for him.
mhm.
And when she wasn't, he was like, okay, it's like when he was able to kind of package her up in the way that he wanted, he was fine with her being Black. But when
Yeah.
he really experienced her within the fullness of who she was, it was too much. And like this person said, he did not see her humanity. And then that of course just made him caring for her and actually protecting her like a non-factor. It was not gonna happen.
Yeah. Okay, so the next one, the one that I started to go to, but too soon. As footnotes from, or talks about the footnotes at the bottom of the last section. So footnotes from the final section of the novel reveal that Opal directed social media manager to um, post a photo of orange feathered chickens roosting on Trump's inauguration day. What is the role, if music artists, entertainers addressing social political concerns and remaining aged and responsive? I mean, I could go. I don't
I,
just think that musical artists and entertainers should be socially and politically connected to specifically change, because there are artists who are deeply connected to like problematic things as well. But I don't see a purpose in creating uh, certain like music and art and performing that doesn't disrupt. And I even feel like things that we like, like just dance to and stuff like that,
yeah.
that is a form of disruption as well. Like that is bringing joy to people. So,
Mm-hmm.
in a world that would prefer us not to have joy whatsoever, I
Mm-hmm.
like I really do favor like the black arts movement.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I really used to be into like researching music of the Harlem Renaissance and stuff like that. So I don't only just think that like music and performance should be that way. I also think books and different things like that, like, and they tend to have a message. Like, I feel like if you are a person who belongs to a historically marginalized group, then something is going to come out that
Yeah,
like goes
almost.
against, yeah, that like
Mhm.
talks back in some way, shape, or form. So
Yeah, I agree with that for sure. I think that where we mess up sometimes is when there are large moments or major moments of civil unrest, for whatever for whatever reason, and we kind of push these entertainers to make statements that they aren't really like ready to make or needing to make. We just want like say something, like prove that you care, and we're calling on people who have not invested anything in these social movements specifically to make these really like moving political statements. And I think that sometimes music artists are just here to make the music. Like every music artist, like Megan Thee Stallion, we don't need her to be Coretta Sky King. We don't need her to uplift, spearhead the next civil rights movement or whatever the case may be. And I feel like we put too much pressure on people who show that they aren't really qualified. I don't want to say qualified as if they have to meet like specific criteria or something, but sometimes they just miss the mark, and like with Lil Baby, we get like Police Lives Matter music or something like that, and it's just like, that's not what we wanted. And I think sometimes we need to respect that people have their lane, and their specialty. I know Megan specifically, she's really into like uplifting messages pertaining to feminism. But I almost feel like we pushed her into that too because she was making very particular music, and then all the comments started happening about her body and her image. And as she started to fight back, she started to kind of take on this like real strong feminist persona that almost felt forced, and like she was trying to give these social statements that didn't feel authentic. So I think like her specialty is probably getting those messages across through her music. But like I don't need sis at a podium trying to, lead the next rally. I think we all got our lanes, and we need to stop trying to put certain people in certain spaces that they really don't need to be in.
and see, I don't know. I'm still grappling with your comments about me. I see Megan Thee Stallion as a feminist, a black feminist, sex positive woman
Mm-hmm.
who, and we're seeing the things that are happening with her, like her struggles, but also her successes, like in real time. For example, like her about to graduate from
Yeah.
college,
Yeah.
right? Like we're seeing like her crying on social media about the
Mhm.
things that people have said. Same thing with Lizzo, same thing,
Yeah.
right? And their music speaks volumes, and they are to me a feminist message. And both of them have actually
Mhm.
came out and specifically said, "Yes, I'm a feminist." And but I think, and I don't know, I feel like all of our leaders of things don't necessarily have to be that well versed. I think that's an assumption that the person who is speaking up about these things has to be like well read and perfectly,
No.
like
Yeah.
it's just
No. No.
put
No.
together completely when it comes to speaking up. But I do see that, regardless, there are, I have students in my classes and that I work with in my center that now, like, no, like, this is my body. You cannot touch my body. This is my body. And whatever you want to say about my body, that's a personal problem. And
Mm-hmm.
it's because of music like that from her,
Right.
music from, and now I'm blanking on. Well, and they don't even really listen to Lizzo that much, actually, to be honest, for a variety of reasons. But I'll just leave that to the side. But so her and who am I thinking of? Not Nalani. She was just on, I think the MTV Awards.
Oh, Beyonce Jr. Chloe.
No, not Chloe.
Not Chloe.
No, she's dark. She's dark skinned.
Normani.
Normani, yes, because she doesn't get the credit she deserves.
Not at all.
But they love Normani, and that is like because they're finally seeing themselves in the music. Like
Yeah.
that, they also are getting this message that they didn't get from other people. So
yeah. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm like that's it for sure. I'm just saying that like, why are we asking like people like the baby to like spearhead a movement? It's the baby. He be kicking women in the face and stuff like we don't. No,
I wasn't. I don't. I think I was thinking of Lil Baby. Lil Baby, not the baby.
One of them.
The baby is homophobic. The baby is he kicks women in the face.
And I think that's my issue. Like we see people who demonstrate very like problematic patterns of belief, behavior, and then we're still like, oh, but he's a black man. He got something to say. You know, like nothing that we need to be trying to uplift, but no, definitely what you said. Like there are, especially I think younger generations are really learning a lot of concepts as far as like autonomy, even racial concepts from music and from mixed media, different types of art. So yeah, that's definitely on point. But like I think we just need to stop calling on these random rappers who don't offer us anything to lead our movements.
Yeah. So Salter EA on YouTube said Meg's feminism for me is most patterned around her actions and agency as opposed to structured discourse. Yeah, I completely agree. Like I think that goes back to what you were saying. Like she's not the best person to like speak at a podium about these things, but her message, huh?
That's not her area, you know.
Yeah.
And when oftentimes I think people try and validate messages as well by putting, you know, women like Meg or someone like Cardi B in a space like that. Like, you know what, they'll listen to you more if you stand behind this podium or if you film a YouTube video where you're sitting down. But it's like that's not her lane. That's not what she does. Not to say she can't, but if she is getting her message across in this form, let her do it.
Yeah. Somebody, Alliance Time Baby, just said, what is Megan Stallion, so Megan the Stallion, offer that we should uplift? So, I mean, there are a lot of things. So,
what do you mean by that? I
she
love
offers sex positivity. She offers the reminder that the woman's body is the woman's body and nobody else's but the woman's body. She offers a platform and a space for thicker women who are not super skinny. Also, she offers a platform and a space for dark skinned women. So, I mean, there are so many things that we could say. She offers, like, basically, she demonstrates that you can be a rap artist talking about all of these things and you can still be in school and talk about doing. On her Instagram page, she has even talked about studying and sat there studying and talked about how she was so stressed out from studying. That is the reality.
If my rap career popped, I would have kicked that degree in the curb a long time ago. So yeah, she Megan is I feel like she's a symbol of perseverance, like you said, sex positivity, autonomy. She speaks up for herself, and I feel like a lot of men in the industry, she has called them out. Like Tory Lanez, she put him on like that was straight up violence. So just her
And now he
unapologetic.
gone, so
Yeah, like where did he go? Exactly. So
goodbye.
yeah, I'm not really sure what that meant, but I think Megan is. She offers so much. She's a very well-rounded artist. She seems to be a well-rounded woman. Of course, I don't know her, but what sex positive that she has said referring to WAP, or do you mean support for sex workers?
No, not support for sex work. Like as I stated, she supports like she is there for body positivity. Again, this is my body. This is nobody else's body. Also, if I'm having sex, it don't matter because it's my body. Like, and I make decisions about my body if it comes to sex, if it comes to twerking. I remember she like spoke out because people were dogging her out about the fact that every time she was on Instagram, she was twerking.
Oh
It's
my
her
god.
Instagram page.
Yeah.
It's also, again, her body. So, and that it's okay to like speak publicly about her body, sex, relationships. I mean, granted, I understand that there are people who don't necessarily like follow that same, like political message or
Yeah,
see
they
it
found it
as,
reductive, but I mean, I don't know.
yeah, but
She's getting
I
paid
don't,
as the artist instead of just the model, while some black guys getting paid for her talent and performance. When males offer the same message and backup dancers for women to party to, no one is acting like he needs to have more class or less.
right. So it's a double, double standards. Yes, it is her body and her choice.
Yeah,
Yes,
where's the confusion?
yes. Come on. Yes, it's her body and her choice. Always. But yeah, do you want to go to some of the questions that were at the bottom?
And final thoughts and conclusion.
Hmm.
Yeah, we can do that.
Um, so the
Why?
first one asks, why is, we don't have to do all of them.
Yeah, not what. Why is this
So
the
we
final
can
revival?
do, huh?
You want to do the first one, and some of these are we kind of have touched on them.
Maybe, um, maybe we could do the first two. I think
Okay.
that goes, okay. So the first one asks, why is the final revival of Opal, why is this the final revival of Opal and Nev? So going back to the book discussion, not
Yeah.
Megan Thee Stallion. But
Because she is done with him.
but it's the final revival. There is no coming back from the
Right.
things that have happened. No coming back. Nev has demonstrated that he is stuck in this like the mediocrity, the I am a white liberal and but like can't see the difference between liberalism and or the connection between liberalism and racism,
Mm-hmm.
continued racism. um so yeah.
I think also whenever I hear the word revival, because that's just generally not a term or a word that's used a lot. I often think about like church revivals that I used to go to back in the day with my mom and my grandma, and just kind of like this spirit of um, renewal. The revival was supposed to kind of like be like this reset where everyone was congregating and getting together to have this big celebration and to really kind of for that setting it was about praising God, uplift, etc., etc. So in this term it just reminds me that this is, or I think it shows that this is the last time that there will ever be any convening around them as well, around like celebrating both of them together, because they just don't coexist. um So it's not only the last reunion for the group, but what the group symbolized, what the group kind of spearheaded, like all of that is it's in the past.
Yeah, definitely. And then I think related to what you were just saying, in this question, someone on Facebook said, when people show you who they are, believe them. And I think Nev has showed us who he is and who he can be, like continuously. So there's, no possibility of revival because it's not a celebration. You just said, the idea of revival and thinking about the Black church is that of a celebration.
Mm-hmm.
New beginnings, also reunions, and that is not a good reunion that is happening with them. So now we got a whole bunch of comments about Megan Thee Stallion and sex selling. And I particularly want to point out Salter Ye's comment about sex will always sell, but it's about everyone getting their equity for their contribution.
Mm-hmm.
And um, I agree with that. The equity for, I also know for a fact, I mean, that sex sells. I mean, it does. Sex and violence actually sell. Sorry, I'm plugging in mine. The
I think
sex and violence sales, but um, the equity for their contribution, actually, people acknowledging, I think moving away from sex as something that is like this taboo thing or bad or is another thing Megan is focused on.
I think
So
um, as far as
I don't have anything about anything against sex workers. I
yeah,
don't think that was stated at all.
yeah, I think you said that you don't think, or you said something about like Megan not making the music for sex workers, and I think that they kind of interpreted that as you being against sex workers. I don't know, but yeah, I mean, I think the problem is not that sex sells. It's like Salter EA said, it's the fact that like women selling sex is a problem, whereas it's often the driving force behind male success.
Yeah. So, I mean, when I think about Megan Thee Stallion, I think about the fact that she actually has to have a message. She has to have skill, right? Like lyrical abilities. And then she has to look a particular way to get acknowledged by an appropriate number of people so that she does remain relevant in terms of sales.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like that is not equitable at all because you can have a dude up here looking like never mind.
Who
This
done
it's
it
just
and
not
why?
equitable. Hmm?
Looking like who done it and why.
And it's fine because that's not the point. The point is, does he have lyrical abilities? And really, that doesn't matter that much either.
No.
But the
No.
standard is different for women, and particularly Black women who are
Mm-hmm.
artists. So, but yeah, going back to the sex worker thing, I have nothing against it. I'm sure Megan Thee Stallion's work uplifts them and others.
Yeah, I
Um,
just don't. I never took that as her target audience.
mm,
I think that was
I
really
just
the
think
point.
anybody who's going to listen
Yeah,
is going to listen.
yeah.
So, um, do you want to go to the next question, or you think we should end it with that?
We can wrap it up.
Okay,
With that.
with the last question, or just
Let's do one more. We can do this last
okay?
one. How
So the last, huh? Or you gonna do it? You can
I got it.
answer it.
How was Opal and Nev's journey to stardom complicated by their race and gender identities?
So I think this actually connects anyway
Yeah.
because Opal, again, like is this woman who's hyper visible. Like
Mm-hmm.
she, um, like in terms of race and gender, like it seems like she has continuously always tried to be silenced in terms of like not just like her political stance on things, her speaking up about things, but also her dress and her mannerisms. So also like so it's race, gender, and sexuality. So
Yes.
like her relationship with Neb and her relationship with Jimmy, right?
Mhm.
Like these things impact who she is. And unfortunately, we know like stories of black women throughout history who have had to like maintain these relationships in order to remain successful
Yeah.
in the music industry. So it's deeply connected. And when she shows up as Opal, a black woman who is provocative in a multiplicity of ways. So it's not just like, oh, Opal, she's a rock artist. Nope. It's Opal. She's a rock artist and she wears her hair and all these, well, not her hair, but head wraps and hats and clothing that, you know, speaks before she enters a room.
And
So
I think Nev's journey would have been, like he would have been fine regardless, but a lot of Opal's success and just her path in music was really contingent upon a lot of the relationships to other people
yeah,
because so much of Black women's experience is infringed upon by those around us, whereas white men just kind of get to float by.
yeah. And I do feel like Nev would have been okay, but I don't think he would be the name that he is, like the person who
Yeah,
is, you know, like
yeah,
people know of when they hear that name. They're like, oh, we know Nev, you know,
right,
like
right.
without Opal at
Hmm.
all. So yeah, I think they're I don't think Opal is content. Well, I think her actually being successful when they first came out was due to that relationship. So they needed that dynamic early on to be successful.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
okay, well, I
Yeah,
think that is it for our questions. Thank you all for providing comments, asking questions, even the provocative questions. I like them. I
the
love
heavy
talking about Megan Thee
hitters.
Stallion, so keep them up. Uh, I love when people add questions so that it makes it seem like you all are with
Engage.
us.
Yeah, makes
So
the conversation more robust. It's enjoyable.
yes. So make sure that you all again grab your syllabus. This was the final discussion from members of the syllabi cohort. However, again, there is an author chat happening at 7 o'clock on November 3rd with Donnie Walton, the
Mhm.
author of the book.
So bring the heavy hitting questions for her too, because she has all the real answers.
Yes, if you go to the Facebook page, there is a link to submit questions for the author. And I do believe the next book is it 7 Days in June?
Mhm.
I might be getting it wrong, but
I
that's
see.
our next read. So stay tuned for
Okay.
discussions on that book as
Mhm.
well. Thank you all for joining us.
Bye.